welcome to episode 27 of the Darth Easy Show. So guys, once again, thank you for joining me on another exciting episode of the Darth Easy Show. And let's get straight into it. We have our first segment, and that is the movies. It's everything going on in the realm of movies. And I did not actually see anything kind of this week. So my original plan for this weekend was I was going to go see Marshall and Only the Brave. But at my job, I had a guy who wanted Halloween off, and I traded him days. I worked today for him, and he's working my Thursday, which means I get to see a special little Marvel movie on Thursday night. So that's going to be a fun movie to go see. I'll talk about that in a little bit. But also, the thing to talk about is just that like I said, I'll try to get Marshall. That was the one I was really looking forward to. And I saw this was the last day of my theater, was actually the theater I go to, was actually playing it. But I found there's another theater, so I might have to take a little extra drive next week to go see it. I haven't really decided if I'm going to do that yet, so I may go see nothing next week, or I may go see that. But let's get straight into the movies. This is everything going on in theaters and all my classic movie reviews. And since I don't have a movie to talk about, since I like to get this podcast up by at least Tuesday or Monday night at the earliest, Tuesday night at the latest. So let's get right into my classic movie review of the week. Was Thor: The Dark World. I watched this movie because Thor Ragnarok comes out this week, and I have to say, Thor: Dark World, every time I see it, it makes me not like this movie more and more and more. When people tell me one of the worst Marvel Cinematic Universe movies, I automatically go with Thor: Dark World. And there's none that beat this, because Iron Man 2, Robert Downey Jr. is the least enjoyable in the movie, and there's still some cool fight scenes in the movie. And Iron Man 3, a lot of people hate Iron Man 3. I actually really enjoy Iron Man 3. I think it's a very cool Iron Man movie. But Thor: The Dark World is just, there's nothing there. First off, you have the villain, played by Christopher Eccleston. I like Christopher Eccleston. I liked what he did in the Leftovers series. I liked him as Doctor Who. But I just did not care for him in this movie. And his villain just kind of just feels like, hey, just throwing him in there. And, darkness, blood, ether, I'm the Doctor. Anyways, also, I thought Chris Hemsworth did a really good job. I mean, he plays his role really well. But the things that I just don't care about this movie, which is something I'm actually really enjoying, they're taking out in the sequel, as far as I know, is they're taking out Natalie Portman's Jane Foster, because Natalie Portman, she phones it in this movie. She really does. And Kat Dennings, I just don't find her that funny. That one broke girl, I just don't care for her character in this movie. You can check out my full review of Thor: The Dark World right now on my YouTube channel. Go to Darth Easy on YouTube and look up my latest classic movie review. And now it's time to move on to television. This is everything going on in the realm of Easy Nation that I'm actually watching on TV. And we have a lot of stuff to get to, so let's get started with The Flash, Season 4, Episode 3, Luck Be a Lady. So this episode, Flash, oh Flash, what are you doing, oh Flash? And the thing about this episode of Flash was that they found out what caused all the new metahumans to appear in Central City. And they found that when they got Barry out of the Speed Force, it created new metahumans. And that's the thing I don't like about Flash, is that it's like, whatever we do in this show, we cause our whole freaking problems. I mean, come on, man. Come on. I mean, sometimes that could be a little fun, but they've done that every season. Season 1, particle accelerator blows up. We kind of have to solve it. We have to help this because we kind of caused it. Season 2, I went back in time. I caused Soon to come here. And you're like, okay, that's enough. Season 3, Mary's like, I've gone back in time to save my mom. And I've kind of caused Saboteur and other people to come in and destroy a city. So I had to stop this. And in this season, we save Barry from the Speed Force prison. And guess what? We create 12 metahumans, which gives us 12 episodes of The Flash to watch this season. Oh my god. And the monster of the week this week was a girl. She was unlucky in her life, and her metahuman ability is that she's Lady Luck, basically. And they stop her, blah, blah, blah. That's the episode. Moving on to Legends of Tomorrow, Season 3, Episode 3, Zari. This episode of Legends of Tomorrow, they go into the future, and they find out that Argus became kind of like the Nazis. They have a anti-metahuman. Kind of reminds me of a little what's going on in like the show Gifted right now with mutants kind of being on the run. And it was a very enjoyable episode. And you have more Vixen's character. She finds a mate, basically, to, well, not a mate, but, someone that also has an amulet of power. And it looks like she's going to be a new member of the crew. I don't really know what kind of, superhero she actually is. I tried looking it up, but I had no idea. That really ends that episode. And now I'll talk about Survivor, Season 35, Episode 5. I didn't write down the episode name, so we'll just call it Episode 35, Episode 5. So this episode of Survivor, you had I forget what tribe lost. I know who was on it, but you had Ryan and Chrissy, and one guy voted out the one girl, and that's not really much to it. Ryan might be in a little trouble now because he should have told Allie. He said, "Hey, we're going to vote out. We're going to vote out the one girl from the Healer tribe, and instead of leaving her in the dark, because that could bite her in the butt." Remember what happened when Jay left out Hannah whenever they voted out Michaela? It didn't work out well for Jay in the rest of that season. The next episode to talk about is Arrow, Season 6, Episode 3, Next of Kin. So this episode we have Diggle. He is now the Green Arrow, and they're like, he's not the Green Arrow's not shooting arrows. What's up with that? And Diggle kind of has to deal with this thing of, can he be the Green Arrow? And we find out he's taking medication or some kind of drugs so he can actually use his nerves. And they actually build him like a crossbow that actually shoots arrows instead of crossbow bolts to keep the idea of that. Hey, the Green Arrow's legit. And that really ends that episode of Arrow. Next, we're talking about Star Trek Discovery, Season 1, Episode 7, Magic to Make the Smartest Man Go Mad. So this episode was kind of a Groundhog's Day on Star Trek Discovery. Basically what happens in this episode of Star Trek is that you have the character Mudd comes back, and he's trying to kill the captain, take the Discovery, and sell it to the Klingons. And it kind of works out in his favor, and but not really, because he just repeats the day over and over and over again. And then you have the lieutenant guy. He's saying like, "Well, we've done this over and over and over again." And it was actually probably my favorite episode of Star Trek. It was actually the first episode I actually really enjoyed, which is kind of crazy because it really has nothing to do with the main plot. But I really enjoyed this little fun episode, and see that I also like the one character, the guy she makes out with, and I thought that was a very sweet moment. I'm really liking their chemistry together, and this was actually the first episode I actually kind of enjoyed her. And one of the funny parts of the episode was I have not been a big fan of Michael's character this entire season, and whenever she gets herself killed, I was like, yay! I'm a dick. Now let's move on to Last Week Tonight with John Oliver, Season 4, Episode 28. I believe this episode was called Flooding. So this episode, Last Week Tonight with John Oliver, he makes a few Trump jokes. He talks about flooding. It was the first half of the show was funny. The second half wasn't as much. Let's move on to Star Wars Rebels, Season 4, Episodes 5 through 6, The Occupation, and Flight of the Defender. So in this episode of Legends of Tomorrow, in this episode of Star Wars Rebels, we have the we have the crew. They all head back to Lothal. They've been smuggled in by Hisago, which I love. They bring that character back. Kind of tying up some loose ends. Seeing a character we haven't seen before. We haven't seen in a while. We haven't seen him, I believe, since season 2. So it's very great seeing his character again. And then in this episode, we also see that we see some of those puffer things we saw from the Lando Calrissian episode, which I really enjoyed. And one thing I liked was just this realization is what the Empire really does. The Empire, one day, I've been reading some of the Star Wars canon, was that the Empire does, they'll come to a planet, they'll take their resources, completely bear them to the minimum, and then move along. And that's what we see with Lothal. Lothal is not the same Lothal we saw in the first episode of Season 1, Episode 1. And that's one thing I really liked about it. It was like, this is what it costs to have the Empire on your world. So I very much enjoyed that first part. The second part I really liked. I really, really liked the second part of the episode. And I really like Admiral Thrawn as a villain, because one thing I love about Admiral Thrawn is you see Ezra and you see Sabine. They steal the new TIE Starfighter, their new TIE fighter that they've been planning, and Ezra's flying. And you see Thrawn, he's like, no, let them carry on, because he realizes that Ezra is not the greatest pilot, and he sees that Ezra is able to out-defeat all the other the Imperial pilots. And he said if that was Hera, it would have been done in a matter of moments. And he says if someone as okay as Ezra is, then these TIE fighters are going to be a great success. So I like that he uses I love that he uses things that are kind of going against him as an opportunity. That's just the thing I like about Thrawn. He's kind of like a Sherlock Holmes kind of character. He's so analytical, and that's one thing I really enjoyed about reading the Star Wars book Thrawn, was you really got into kind of the mindset of the Grand Admiral. You just see his mind works. His mind works so much different than your average commander of the Empire. So I very much enjoyed this episode. Also, it has some kind of White Wolf ghost. I enjoyed this episode of Star Wars Rebels episodes. And the final episode to talk about is The Gifted, Season 1, Episode 6. Crap, I didn't write the title again. Oh well, it's fine. Anyways, this episode we have the mutants are on the run after the last episode. One thing I liked about this episode, we kind of fleshed out the character a little more of the Sentinel character. I like that we got, and you kind of feel for him, and now you kind of understand the motivation of what he's doing. You need that. He is the villain character in this show. He is, no matter what he thinks he's doing is right, and that's one thing I like about his character. And I very much enjoyed this episode of The Gifted. I still think it needs work. Maybe cutting some of that family part of the show up. Maybe they can fix that up when they get to the second half of the season. Whenever they probably shoot some more, maybe they can hear some negative feedback of the family and focus more on the Mutant Underground. I very much enjoyed this episode. And now it's time to move on to the main event! The main event this week is Stranger Things Season 2. This was a very, very enjoyable show. I absolutely, really... It was okay. Okay, so here's the thing about Stranger Things. First season, I liked. I watched it just to get ready to do my top 10 TV shows of 2016. And I was like, it was alright. I enjoyed it. Maybe it's just I don't have such a high 80s nostalgia as some other people do. Mainly because I wasn't born in that era or anything around it. So I really have no interest in the 80s. And this season, I did like. And you have the evil... Basically, you have Will. It takes place a year after the events of the first season. Will's kind of been tricked, kind of like shit. One thing I didn't really enjoy, one thing I wasn't the craziest thing about this season was that they did a thing with Elle's character. We found out her character's name is Jane, and she goes off to kind of find herself. I I thought that was interesting at a point, but I felt like I didn't need that as an entire episode by itself. That could have been sprinkled in with the 2 or 3 episodes before it. Other things, I really liked the character Steve this season. I thought he did a really good job. This is one thing I wasn't the craziest thing about the show was that they completely and utterly Boba Fetted Sean Astin's character. I thought Sean Astin was doing a great job. It was great seeing Sean Astin in some kind of movie or television because it's been a while. I haven't seen him in anything in a long time. And he made a great Goonies joke in his show, which was great. And, the show does take inspiration from the Goonies. And so what's Boba Fett mean? Boba Fett is something where you have a very cool character. You see him in one thing, and you're like, man, that guy's really cool. And then he gets killed off in a very stupid way. And that's what I did not like about Stranger Things Season 2 was I thought they didn't have to kill Sean Astin's character. I mean, you didn't need that. And they just killed him off, I think, just to kill him off. So, I enjoy Stranger Things Season 2. It's not perfect television. I saw a review that said each episode it's more like a 9-hour movie. I could disagree. I could disagree a lot more than that. It doesn't feel like a movie to me. It feels like television. Game of Thrones feels like a movie. Stranger Things feels like TV. And I enjoy the season as a whole, but it's not a show I absolutely love. And I'm like, if they don't make another season, I won't be that bad about it. And let's move on to video games. This is everything going on in video games, and I have nothing in video games. And now let's move on to anime. I have nothing in anime. And now let's move on to books. I have nothing in books, so let's move on to our final segment of the show, and that is the upcoming segment. This is everything coming out in theaters, movies-wise, anything coming out soon on TV, and maybe something else. So first movie to talk about is A Bad Mom's Christmas. Spoiler alerts, I am probably not going to be seeing this movie. I didn't see the original, and it's too early for a Christmas movie, and I really, be honest with you, I really don't want to see this movie. So, it looked a little funny, but I'm probably not going to be seeing this movie. Now, let's move on to the movie I'm seeing this Thursday, and that is Thor Ragnarok. Thor Ragnarok I've been really interested in, and I love the first Thor movie. I just talked about Thor Dark World at the beginning of this show. I'm not the biggest fan of the second one. And Thor Ragnarok, it's a very weird trilogy. It's a very weird trilogy. It looks more like a buddy cop movie, and that's kind of the reviews I've heard. Is you have Hulk in there, and you have Thor. You have Cate Blanchett. She plays Helena, the goddess of death. And you have the one character who plays Valkyrie. I'm very much interested in this movie, and I'm looking forward to seeing it Thursday. And now let's moving on to the other movie coming out. This is actually a indie movie, which I'm really hoping I get to see before I get to do my top 10, and that is Lady Bird. So this is a movie I'm very much interested in seeing. The movie stars Saoirse Ronan, who was in the movie I really much enjoyed her in was Brooklyn. I'm looking forward to this movie. It looks like kind of a story. I'm looking very much forward to this. And then the other movie will also very limited release, so may or may not get to see it, and that will be LBJ. This is the biographical movie about the life of Lyndon B. Johnson, the president who succeeded Kennedy. And this movie looks it looked really interesting, and I'm a sucker for biopics, and I think LBJ is one of the more underrated presidents in United States history. He got screwed over because he got screwed over on Vietnam, even though a lot of that was his fault. But if Vietnam had never happened, I think Lyndon B. Johnson goes down as one of the greatest presidents of all time, maybe even the greatest. So I'm looking forward to that. And now the last thing I talk about, it's not a movie, it's not a television show, and that is a video game, Call of Duty World War II. I bought Call of Duty World War II, and it's coming out Friday. It should be shipping to my house Friday, so I'll be looking forward to playing Call of Duty World War II. I've been really interested in this game ever since I've heard development, and I was like, I might have to get that, because I haven't bought a Call of Duty since Black Ops 2, because I don't want to play the futuristic warfare. I like the simple, you're in the trenches, you're or you're just fighting on a crazy battleground. And I love the first World War Call of Duty. I like the original Modern Warfare trilogy. I'm looking forward to playing Call of Duty World War II. And guys, that ends episode 27 of the Darth Easy Show. So guys, make sure you look on that comment section below on the YouTube page and tell me what are some things you're looking forward to next week. Are you looking forward to seeing Thor next week? Whatever it is, comment below, let me know. And guys, make sure if you like this video, click that thumbs up button and subscribe to see more, and tell your friends about the great podcast known as the Darth Easy Show. And as always, guys, follow me on iTunes so you never miss an episode of the Darth Easy Show. So guys, until next week, peace out, all too easy, and take care. Bye.